Imagine losing your child and then being told you're not entitled to their estate because you were incarcerated. Today, we're diving into a heartbreaking case of estate fraud that exposes the dark side of inheritance law. We'll explore how vulnerable families can be exploited and what you can do to protect yourself.
This is such a crucial topic, and the case we're discussing today really highlights how complex and devastating these situations can become.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly happened in this case?
Well, this centers around Ronald Beerand and his young son Antonio, who tragically passed away at just 2 years old in 2018.
Oh my goodness, only 2 years old?
Yes, and here's where it gets complicated. Ronald was incarcerated during this time, and this circumstance was used against him in the most devastating way.
How so?
According to the records, Ronald was told his incarceration status wouldn't affect his rights to his son's estate. But that's not what happened.
What did happen?
They actually disqualified him from receiving the estate money because he hadn't paid child support while incarcerated, even though he was only making 10 cents an hour in prison.
Seems incredibly unfair.
It gets worse. They apparently withheld his mail and forged his name, preventing him from attending court dates to defend himself.
Wait, they forged his signature? That's actual fraud, isn't it?
Absolutely. According to legal experts, this kind of manipulation falls under what's called undue influence in estate law.
Can you explain what undue influence means in this context?
Sure. The American Bar Association defines it as when one person's will is substituted for another's desires. In estate cases, it often involves taking advantage of vulnerable situations.
And being incarcerated certainly creates a vulnerable situation.
Exactly. And according to recent legal studies, these cases can result in hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in lost assets.
How common are these kinds of estate fraud cases?
They're unfortunately more common than you might think. Estate fraud often involves manipulation, deception, or outright theft related to a deceased person's estate.
And I imagine the emotional impact must be devastating.
Absolutely. These cases often target people who are already dealing with grief and loss, making it an especially cruel form of exploitation.
In Ronald's case, he was dealing with both grief and incarceration.
Yes, and they used his incarceration to justify giving the estate money to his son's stepfather instead.
That's a pretty clear example of exploitation of a vulnerable situation.
And what makes it even more troubling is that they told him his child support obligations would reset when he got out of prison.
But then use those same obligations against him?
Exactly. It's a perfect example of what legal experts call deception and lying in manipulation tactics.
What are some warning signs people should watch for in these situations?
According to estate planning experts, major red flags include unexpected changes to wills or trusts, isolation tactics, and uncharacteristic financial decisions.
And in this case, the isolation was literally physical. He was in prison.
Right, and they took advantage of that isolation to prevent him from participating in the legal process.
What can people do to protect themselves from this kind of fraud?
The most important thing is to have clear, up-to-date estate documents and maintain open communication with family members about inheritance plans.
But what if you're in a vulnerable position like Ronald was?
That's where having a trusted legal representative becomes crucial. Someone who can advocate for your rights when you can't be present.
And I imagine documentation is important too?
Absolutely. Keep copies of all legal documents, correspondence, and any promises made regarding inheritance or estate matters.
What about the courts? Don't they have a responsibility to protect vulnerable parties?
They do, but as this case shows, the system isn't perfect. Courts can only make decisions based on the information they receive.